Good evening, everyone. This is Ryan Hoyme, aka Massage Nerd, and this show is brought to you by our friends at Massage Magazine Insurance Plus. Massage Magazine has been exploring touch therapies for over 25 years and has used that industry knowledge to develop the best value liability insurance in the business. And I want to thank Eric Dalton for sponsoring this presentation and offering Massage Nerd listeners to a 10% discount on all his home study courses. Use the code MN10 when you check out at ericdalton.com. And another sponsor is Shalene Taylor. She turned her struggling massage therapy practice into multi-million-dollar, multi-location success, and now is showing others how to build a purposeful and profitable massage practice. Visit www.iambiz.com. Welcome, everyone. This is Ryan Hoyme, aka Massage Nerd, and today we have an IT expert. And it's not iliotibial band. Somebody mentioned that in one of the posts, but it's an information technology expert. So Rod Wright, welcome, Rod.
Hey, thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
So, hey, everybody.
Yep. So we're going to be going over a lot of different privacy things about the internet, how it keeps things safe, you name it, and stuff. So let me see. One person already asked a question. Need to learn how to do those emoticons.
I just hit the keyboard. I don't actually use the emoticons. Depends on what software you're in.
Yeah.
My cell phone makes them for me. Otherwise, I just do smiley faces. But it just depends on what you're in. If you're like in Facebook and you're chatting, it should make it for you if you just put in just type in a normal smiley face on your keyboard using the colon and the parentheses. You should be able to get a smiley face to actually pop up in there.
Okay.
During chat.
And then for Facebook, so many people have problems with their the privacy settings. What's the best way to navigate through that, or to be up to date of those things?
The Facebook's privacy settings are kind of like me choosing your lotto numbers. I can tell you what to do, but it may not actually do anything. One of the problems is when you use Facebook, you're using a piece of software, but you're not using it for free. You're trading it with them. You're giving them your own personal information to use their software, and so they can change the settings with no notice. They can do whatever they want, kind of whenever they want, and that's kind of the approach Zuckerberg has taken. But generally, with most of your settings in Facebook, you kind of have to go into up in the top right-hand corner. You should be able to see a couple of links up there, and one of them is going to be your name. There's also going to be like Find Friends. You should see a home, and then there's a drop-down arrow that takes you to your privacy settings, and that's where you're going to do most of your work. Because within the privacy settings, the main thing is your default privacy. You definitely want to make sure that it's at least set to friends. Otherwise, anybody in the public can see anything you post. They can see any of your pictures. It opens up a whole lot of stuff. But generally, the only way you're really going to lock it down is to do custom settings. And it can be hard for most people. If you're going to be doing you want to use Facebook for business, probably your best bet is to set up a fan page. It's going to be much easier to manage, and then you can control kind of what's put out there. You can control the comments that people can make, and from a business perspective, that's going to be a much better choice versus a personal Facebook page. The personal Facebook page, you have to really be careful, because if you upload a photo, even if you have it secure and you've made it private, and you go back and you delete that photo, if you actually look into it, Facebook, they still have that photo. It just doesn't show up on your Facebook page anymore, but Facebook itself still has it. And oftentimes, just by Googling, you can actually still find the photos. So, it's one of those things that the best way to do it is just to, be careful what kinds of information you put on there. otherwise it can be frustrating for everyone trying to lock down your Facebook because it seems like once you think you've got it done, Facebook changes everything. So,
And then for also when what was I going to say? With Facebook, with the whole privacy thing, what about for employers? Do would you say employers try to look at potential employees and stuff like that through Facebook a lot and social media?
absolutely, absolutely. There are actually companies now that will put together a social profile of you when you apply, and what these companies do is for a relatively small fee, they go out and they find your Facebook, they find your statuses, they find your old MySpace page that you may, not realize is still out there. They try to find your LinkedIn information, and basically, there were actually at one of the major universities, there were I think 3 professors that came up with a formula to figure out how emotionally stable you are based on your Facebook profile, just by the numbers of friends, the things you like. It's really kind of weird, but so far they've been pretty accurate with it. But employers themselves will sometimes friend request you before they give you a job. They'll want to see what you have out there because, again, even when you're not working from an employer perspective, you're representing them all the time. Especially if on your Facebook page you list where you work, and so if you put something negative, you expect something to happen back.
And then the average massage therapist doesn't have a lot of technical skills and stuff, and it's frustrating just because there's so much out there all the time. What about what when people a lot of times when people just add people on Facebook and stuff like that? Do you think they're just trying to get people's information too, or?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who will friend request you. The easiest way to look at this is when you see some of the high school kids and you see some of their friends lists, and they may have 1,500 friends, but there's no way they actually know those people. The thing is they just shared all their information and all their photos and everything else with them. And so there are some dishonest people out there that are phishing for your information. And that's why I say the fan page is probably a better way to go if you want to use Facebook for business. Instead of actually using your own personal Facebook page, just set up a fan page, and you could put out there, okay, if you make an appointment by whatever date, I'll give you 5% off if you mention this code, or something like that. But at least with the fan page, the people who become fans of you, they don't get access to your Facebook page. They don't get access to all of those photos, all the other information. As far as I'm concerned, that should just be your actual friends and family and those folks on that, and then use the fan page for business.
Yeah, it's so hard for people because some people use their name as a business too. So,
Yeah, and that's again, that can be problematic. But again, you can still set up your fan page using your name. The thing is that people may post, they may tag you in things, and Facebook has changed it so if you get tagged in a photo, you have to actually approve it now. But maybe somebody posts something that you think is inappropriate. Maybe the language or the joke or whatever they post is inappropriate, but because you're friends with them, it shows up on your wall, and potentially clients may be seeing that, and that may be affecting how they view you, and you definitely want to be careful with that. And so with a fan page, you can basically set it up so that no one can post if you want to, only you, and then you put out updates or whatever about your business however you like. So again, the Facebook, you're using your personal page, using your personal Facebook account, it can be problematic, and if you start to become more popular, they're going to limit you to 5,000 friends anyways. Whereas your fan page is unlimited. So if your business becomes big, like, I don't know, say like maybe you're a massage nerd or something, you may need that fan page because you just won't be able to friend enough people.
And we don't want to teach people how to hack, but what are some safety nets that hackers kind of look into?
Well, one of the problems, you mentioned how a lot of massage industry people don't necessarily have a lot of technology background, and it's a hard field to stay up in, even for technology professionals. Just for myself, just trying to stay current. And when you start getting into it and you start looking around, it's pretty scary what they can do. All you have to do is go to YouTube, and if you put in the right search terms, it'll come back with videos telling you how to break into somebody's Facebook or any other, like LinkedIn or any type of site like that. But generally, there's a few things you can really do to limit the impact somebody can have with that. Never put your birth date on your Facebook page. Don't put your address on there because that may lead to somebody stalking you and actually driving by. You want to be careful with putting your cell phone number or your personal phone number out there. Again, that's information that can be used against you. And if you give somebody your birth date, with your birth date, I can get a credit card out in your name. So if I go out there and just do that, then I've already been able to set up a credit card in your name. That's if you avoid putting that type of information out, it goes a long way to helping keep you safe overall. Same thing with LinkedIn. You want to be careful what all you're putting on your LinkedIn account. You want to make business connections with it, make connections with people in your field, but you also want to protect yourself. Just be careful who you give that personal information to. We sign up for a lot of websites, and we really do give away the combination to the vault a lot of times for information when we give them, the right to use our birthday. We give them, phone numbers, addresses, and things like that. And that, again, that's all information that can be used against you by somebody who has malicious intent. And they may not just be trying to steal your identity. They may just be somebody who you've encountered that just doesn't like you. And so now they want to post as you. And so, I may be able to set up a fake Facebook page and try to friend request your friends and say, look, my other one got locked out. You just really want to be careful. And again, it's one of the problems I see with especially younger people is if somebody friend requests them, they just accept the request and they don't think about who may be on the other end. Because all you're really seeing is a name, and I can put in any name I want. I can become a massage nerd, and you're not going to know because you're just seeing a name on a request. So you have to kind of protect yourself.
And what about when people sign up for newsletters? Are they giving a lot of information, would you say?
One thing I would recommend if you're going to sign up for newsletters, there are so many companies out there that will give you a free email account. Google will give you one, Yahoo, MSN, any of those. I recommend you set up basically kind of a throwaway email account where when you have to sign up for things online, you use that as the email address. So if it gets spammed, it's not that big of a deal versus your business email. Be very careful how you use your business email. And I really, I don't recommend you use that when you sign up for anything online. I have an account that just gets spammed all the time, but I don't care. I go in once a month and I pretty much delete everything. So if it's a newsletter that you actually want to see, well, okay, then, just be careful because you want to look at some of their privacy settings because they may tell you that they give your information away, or they may say we don't give it away at all. But again, if it's out there, the right person at the wrong time may be able to access it. So just be careful what you put out there. Definitely use a alternate email address.
Okay. And then what about when people sometimes just post their emails on their website versus forms? What do you think is safer?
Um, you know, it's six of one, half a dozen of another. It's one of those things that it honestly it doesn't it's not going to make too much of a difference which way. Um, your business email, um, you're going to get spammed. I mean, it's just going to happen, and that's because the spammers they don't actually know who you are. All they're doing is randomly generating uh, letters and sending it out. And what happens is if you respond to an email or you click on a link that says remove me from your email list or anything like that, generally what that does is it confirms they have a live account and then they turn around and sell that information. The other thing is if you have um, something like a Gmail account, MSN, they're pretty good with their settings for controlling what kind of email gets through to you. But you're going to get spammed. It's estimated something like 90% of all email is spam, so it's going to happen.
And then I haven't seen these emails in a long time. I think it's from Africa, I think, but they're saying that they're
You won the lottery, my friend.
yeah.
I'm a Nigerian prince who wants to share my money with you, and I need to get it out of the country. That's what they call a phishing attack. The phishing, it's with a P. It's phishing. Phishing. What they do is they send out these emails, and they've gotten really good today. They look legit. The one that I see most often says it's from eBay. And basically what they'll do is they'll ask you you have to come to eBay and reconfirm all of your account information and your credit card number, or we're going to close your account. No company does that. No company, if your information expires, they're not just going to close your sign-on account. Maybe if you haven't used it in a year or something, but that's a pretty popular one that still goes around. But anytime you see anything that says, "Oh, get this free," any of that, it's not going to be free. You may pay a heavy cost with identity theft with those. Be careful what email you open. If you don't recognize it, just don't even open it. But the problem is that a lot of those folks are using addresses that look legitimate, so it looks like an email that you really did receive. There was a network I was supporting years ago, and the users started getting these emails that said, from your IT department. And they thought they were legitimate, but they weren't, because I was a department of one, so I wasn't going to send out from your IT department. I just signed it with my name. But that was one that I experienced that actually it caused a bit of headache because people thought they were actually from me, and they were clicking on links and they were clicking on other things that were actually malicious, bad. So, again, you just want to be careful with what you open and what you click on, because obviously they still work. They must work, or people wouldn't do it. And since they're still being sent out, somebody's clicking and saying, "I'd like that lottery money, please."
And what about PayPal? I mean, so many massage therapists use PayPal so people can book their appointments that way and stuff. I mean, how secure is that? And
PayPal's a pretty well-established company. They've been around a long time, and then eBay bought them because they were so successful, and that's what people prefer to use. They do a lot what Amazon does today. Amazon doesn't necessarily sell direct to you on a lot of their products. Instead, you buy it. So, for instance, I want to buy your videos. So I click on Amazon to buy Massage Nerd videos. Amazon's not actually selling me the videos. They're acting as a go-between between me and the third party who's actually going to ship the videos to me. And so I give Amazon my credit card number, or I give PayPal my credit card number, and then they turn around and transfer funds. And if there's a problem, I take it to Amazon, I take it to PayPal. And PayPal again is a really a pretty reputable company. So you take a risk in everything in life, but personally, I have never experienced a problem with PayPal. I'm sure there are people who have. I've never experienced a problem buying things off of Amazon from third parties when I go through Amazon. The thing is if I'm going to you need therapy and I'm getting a massage and I can reserve it and pay for it with a credit card online, I'm not going to go to that website and just trust them with my credit card number, but I would trust PayPal. So I would give PayPal my credit card number and let them transfer money to You Need Therapy. So, that's the best way to go about it, and that's how small businesses then can get people to trust them with a credit card number, because the business never sees it. They just see the money get transferred in from PayPal. So it's fairly safe.
What about Google Checkout and other things, or anything comparable?
I haven't used it myself, but there are pros and, like I said, there are pros and cons to everything. The fact is we use most of it for convenience. And you hear horror stories of, oh my gosh, this company lost control of 50,000 credit card numbers. And that happens, sometimes it's even worse. But still, it's kind of like a plane crash. How many people die in auto accidents every year that you never hear about, but you certainly are going to see on the news if there's a plane crash. And that's the way credit card fraud tends to work, is when it happens online, it's big. So it makes, huge news, but it's happening all of the time in your normal brick and mortar stores and restaurants that you walk in. How many people walk into a restaurant and they pay with a check card, they pay with their credit card or whatever, and the waitress or waiter just walks away with it, and you don't see what that person's doing. So in reality, generally online shopping is considered still to be more safe than going into a brick and mortar store. The largest credit card theft in U.S. history, I think it's probably world history. What they were doing is they were sitting outside of convenience stores, restaurants, and they were intercepting wireless, because the cash registers were using wireless to run your credit card, and they were intercepting that. They weren't actually doing anything online. They were just going to the brick and mortar stores themselves, and they stole several million in credit cards numbers. Generally, my feeling is I like the convenience, and I'm okay with it. Never, ever, 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 never use a check card online. I can't say that enough. Don't do that. It's a big mistake, because if you have a credit card number that gets stolen and they run up a big bill, it's going to take time to get that figured out. And if it's a credit card, you'll probably still be okay. But if it's a check card, and they act just like a credit card, but it's tied right to your checking account. If they empty your checking account, Wells Fargo isn't going to go, well, we trust you, Rod, so, here's some money to get some gas and some groceries. It's potentially a whole lot more damaging in the short term. So if you have a Visa check card or MasterCard check card, whatever, tied to a checking account, if you contact your bank, almost all of them have other options that are safer for online use. And at Christmas time, I know Wells Fargo was one of them that was doing it, and some of the others probably were, but they would ask you if you shopped online, and if you said yes, they basically offered you the opportunity to sign up for a program that was safer than just using your normal check card. So, that's the one big thing that I would definitely tell you not to use, is a check card online.
Okay. And then with Facebook, you have the option to do the HTTP or the HTTPS. What's the difference between those?
HTTPS, the S stands for secure, so it means it's encrypted. And if it's encrypted, it's pretty tough for somebody to get into. So anytime you see that HTTPS show up, in any internet address, it means that they're securing the information going back and forth. Because there is an attack that's primarily on wireless, public wireless. So if you go to Starbucks or Barnes and Noble and you use their public wireless, if you sign into Facebook or Gmail or even Amazon and a lot of other companies, and you sign in and it's just HTTP, I actually can follow you right into your account, and it's just there's actually a plugin for Firefox, for Mozilla Firefox that does it, and I don't have to know anything. And now all of a sudden I'm on your Facebook, and now I'm posting as you. I didn't have to break your password or anything. But when it's HTTPS, that prevents that completely. So there is a problem, though. If you're like me, I use my Facebook for gaming mostly. And HTTPS won't work with most of the online games that Facebook offers. So when you log in, it may be HTTPS, and then you may see an X show up over the S, or it may just disappear. And a lot of times it may be because, especially if you're playing a game, it's just not able to do it over the secure connection. But again, any company that you do, PayPal, Amazon, any company you do a financial transaction with, you should see HTTPS show up when you go to purchase something.
Okay. And then apps on Facebook, how much information are they getting from us?
They're getting everything. You're generally giving them, again, you're giving them access to everything. Here's the thing: when you let's just say you're playing Farmville, okay? So when you say okay to Farmville, you basically just gave them all of your information, and so now the makers of Farmville, what are they going to do with my information? Well, now I have to track down those folks at Zynga, the company that actually makes most of those games. So again, anytime you like something, anytime you add another app, you gave them a certain amount of information, and it's some of the companies may be a little sketchy. Again, I'm okay if Zynga has my info because I want to play the game, but I'm not so okay. Some company run by some guy in his parents' basement or something. Where you're just not sure what he's going to do with that information. Are they selling it? Are they, what are they trying to do with it? So it's something, again, that you just want to give thought to. I had a student several years ago who, all I did was look up their Facebook, and I was able to tell her what her favorite candy was, what her hobbies were, just by searching for her. And that's all information. Every time you like something, every time you start an app, that's information that may be accessible. Now, Facebook may say, well, no, here's what we do, but there's a lot of argument right now in computer security, just how much are we telling them? And some of the companies aren't necessarily telling us straight up, this is what's happening with your personal information. Here's what you're giving them. So it can be a difficult choice.
Yeah, then Quality Life Massage in the chat says, if you aren't paying for a product, you are the product.
Exactly. Right. The thing is if you're using something and there isn't an exchange of money, you have become the product. So Facebook, if you notice Facebook on the right-hand side, you see those ads. And if you're like me, you may ask yourself, well, how did I get this ad? How did this ad show up? Well, what Facebook does is they don't necessarily sell your information to an advertiser. But what they'll do is, if Massage Nerd goes to them and says, "Here's my target audience," people between the ages of, whatever, who, fit this list, I would like to advertise to them. And Facebook will come back and say, "Okay, your target audience is about 30,000 people, and here's what it'll cost you to run an ad." And then what they do is they push that ad out to you. So in that sense, they are using your information to make money. You have definitely become the product. Nothing online is truly free. We're either going to expose you to advertising, or we're going to ask you for information in exchange for using our sites. So, it's normal. It's just kind of the way the internet works.
And the same person says, he knows what he's talking about. Check out the Linux book on the shelf.
That's kind of a badge of nerddom, I guess. If you don't know, Linux is a competitor to Microsoft that most people have never heard of. So, that's how you can kind of prove your nerdiness.
And a question in the chat: is your use of these social medias as a business owner something that makes you liable, potentially actionable too?
That's the problem. Is there is some question, and that's one of the reasons why companies are jumping all over things like what their employees post. So if an employee puts something out there that's negative, or potentially may get the business sued, then they jump on it. There's been all kinds of cases in the news where companies have fired people over their Facebook postings. And since most states are what's known as at-will employment, where an employer can basically fire you for anything that doesn't violate federal or state law, it's they can just decide, well, we don't like you doing something like that. There was just an article online where a law firm in Florida actually fired a group of employees for wearing orange shirts. And people were up in arms because apparently that was, they were going out afterwards or whatever. But there was also discussion because it was the day before St. Patrick's Day, and orange was the color of the Protestant militants, that blew things up. And so they were all fired, but nobody really knows why, because the law firm doesn't have to say why. They could just not like the color orange. So yeah, a lot of companies are being pretty strict on how employees are using the social media, and you really can't blame them, because one lawsuit could put you out of business, especially when you're a small business. If it gets associated with you, you may get named in a lawsuit based on what somebody else, one of your employees, is doing on a social networking site. But because you're the business, you have insurance or deeper pockets, so you may get named in a lawsuit. And so there are a lot of businesses that are just kind of scared of what may or may not happen. So there's a lot of companies really taking a hard look at this, and whether or not they even want to know, or if they want to know everything. There's a lot of concern.
And then, have you ever used any apps like Square Up or anything else to take credit cards, or?
I haven't. Generally, one of the things with apps, especially when you're looking at credit card transactions, things like that, is look at the number of reviews. I'll give you a little secret of how IT works. Those of us in information technology, and I hope I don't lose my nerd card over this, we Google everything. It doesn't matter what it is. That's how we fix everything almost, is we Google. We Google. So take a look at how many people reviewed it and see what they're saying. Take a look at the company, Google the company. That's the best advice I can give you. I've had to pick, all kinds of software in the past that I wasn't necessarily going to use, but what I did is I just went to Google and looked at what other people were saying to make my decision, and that's how we do a lot of things is, we go looking at reviews and we want to know, well, what did other people say? And if it's generally positive, then you're probably okay.
And then, have you had a chance to look at the new Google privacy at all?
Yeah. What part of it?
Yeah. Is there anything that sticks out at all, or?
Not right offhand. It's Google periodically makes some changes to shake things up. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is how much free software Google puts out. You've got Google Earth and all these other things that are out there, and they've got some really cool stuff that are kind of fun. There's Google Apps and things like that, but the problem with the privacy changes is a lot of times they're written in legalese, so you almost need somebody with a law background to read them to you to see what's actually hidden in there. But as of right now, what I've been seeing, there hasn't been a whole lot negative coming out, and Google's generally they kind of know how they make their money, so they really don't like to make their customers mad because their search engine is and the advertising is their bread and butter. So if they make people mad, then you just stop using Google and all of a sudden they're not making near as much money. So at the same time, they have to try to protect themselves against changing technology, changing times, how people use their stuff. So
yeah, another question in the chat. I've been told that Square, the app, lacks a necessary 32-bit encryption to be secure enough for banking information.
Most banking information uses 128-bit encryption. Generally, any type of transaction across the web, the standard to be secure now is 128-bit, and all that means is how we encrypt something. How it actually gets secured. So it's 128 is considered standard. Anything less than 64, and generally we can break it within a matter of minutes. But 128-bit encryption is still pretty tough to break, and you would have to have access to a fairly decent number of machines and be pretty patient to break 128. But anything less than 64, we can break that fairly quickly.
Do you think these companies, if you ask them what the encryption rate is, they'd actually tell you then, or?
No. Because some of it is they'll try to say, well, we don't want to say because we don't want that information getting out to the malicious people that are out there, doing their little shadowy things. But most websites, most banking sites, and that they honestly, if you go into their actual privacy agreements and that, you'll see they'll list what they use for encryption. They'll say 128-bit, because there's a couple of different mathematical formulas to actually make it safe. But most websites are going to be 128, especially if they're any type of a big website, because it's in their best interests to secure your information. Because if somebody steals a bunch of credit card numbers from Amazon, Amazon's on the hook and they're going to lose business. So they definitely somewhere they'll actually generally say. On a smaller website, they probably don't even know, honestly. If you went to a lot of people who have their own website and you can maybe use a credit card, the site may have been built by somebody else, some other company, and they really don't know themselves. So.
And another question, is there a social media site or app that you could recommend for streaming your social media time, like Twitter, Facebook, etc.?
There's a lot of stuff, and honestly, you just kind of have to find one that you like. Um, there's all kinds of apps that will bring in your Facebook, it'll bring in your Twitter, it'll bring in LinkedIn, and bring it all into one interface. There's especially on the Android side. I don't have an iPhone, and I really don't use the Apple App Store too much, but definitely on the Android store, there's quite a few that that will definitely consolidate that for you, because otherwise it's tough to manage all of that stuff. That's a lot of stuff coming in at you.
And the $1,000,000 question, you ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
How do you protect how do you protect yourself from viruses with your computer?
Well, again, some of it comes back to just using a little bit of common sense. Being careful what kind of emails you open up. But there's boy, the best thing to do is to go out and get an antivirus software package like Norton or McAfee or any of the others that are out there. Generally, Norton tends to rate a little bit higher than the others, but they're pretty close in performance. But you should have to be paying a subscription fee generally. There are some free antivirus programs out there, like AVG is one that works okay. But Norton and those, they're going to charge you an annual fee because it's incredibly tough to try to stay on top of viruses. But you want to make sure that antivirus software is up to date. And most of it installs by default, where it will download its own updates. But you also want to make sure that you're running it. It will run in the background, but you still want to tell it to do a full system scan periodically. And then there's also a website that you can go to, bitdefender.com, is an antivirus company. And if you go to their website, you can actually run antivirus right off of their website to scan your computer. And it gives you, just another way to try to stay ahead of it. Never run two antivirus software packages on the same computer at the same time. They'll see each other as a virus. And it's unless you really kind of want to watch your computer smoke and blow up a little bit, But Bitdefender doesn't install it; just runs off their website, and so that's a nice alternative.
And do these softwares, do they slow down your computer then?
Yeah. Everything you put on your computer slows it down a little bit. So your antivirus software, you should have something for anti-spyware, which if you go out and you buy Norton, I think they have like Norton 360, that will include an anti-spyware. You should have a firewall, which Microsoft has by default, and that runs just fine. It runs by default. You never even really see it. So that stuff should all basically be running. But all of it does start to slow your system down. And you've probably noticed too, because maybe not because you're a Mac user, so there probably isn't much software for you. But sorry, I had to take that. But everything you add to your computer is going to impact its performance at least a little bit. And that's normal, and that's okay. It's just if all of a sudden you notice a big difference in performance, then that can be an indication that something else is going on. And what that is, it could be a virus, it could be spyware, it could be a variety of things. But it's when you notice a big difference that you start to become really concerned.
Yeah, for myself, I use MacKeeper. Have you heard of that one at all? Or?
Yeah. Because Apple, you guys do things a little bit differently, because most viruses were written to target Microsoft, but you guys are getting targeted now. So generally, Macs have always been a little safer, but that's starting to change. And if you have a Mac, you probably should have antivirus. If you have a smartphone, you should probably have antivirus. because they're targeting the smartphones now. And so you're seeing all of these antivirus companies come out with software for your cell phone. If you have a smartphone, you're walking around with more computing power than it took to originally launch the space shuttle. So you're actually, if you have a smartphone, you're walking around with a fairly significant computer, and it needs to be protected too, especially if you have 3G, 4G, or if you're using the wireless. You have to protect that just like any other computer.
And back in the day when I had a PC, there's always this thing when you're downloading a program or something or uploading.
Yep.
Sometimes it would tell you to turn off the firewall. I mean, is that safe then, or?
As long as you remember to turn it back on, but have advanced to the point where generally they don't ask you to do that anymore. Occasionally they might, but it's not like it used to be back in our day, I'll say. We're so old, so we remember when the internet came out, so that makes us old. So, but no, firewalls have changed, and they really have gotten better. And nothing's perfect. There is no perfect security. There is nothing out there that will perfectly protect you, but they've gotten better.
Okay. And Phyllis asked, does he recommend any particular products for smartphone antivirus protection at all?
It's a little slimmer pickings right now on that. But Kaspersky, which is a really odd name, and don't ask me how to spell it. I think it's Kaspersky. I think they have, on the Droid side, they have antivirus out. AVG might. Norton and McAfee probably, they probably have something. Honestly, for me to recommend something is kind of hard because sometimes when you recommend software in this field, people get mad at you if it doesn't work perfectly. And so generally go with the big names. If you can find a Norton, if you can find a McAfee, something like that, then you're going to be pretty well off.
And is there any way to secure your website too? I mean, I know in the past my website was hacked and stuff, and
yeah, it's a little tougher because at that point you're dependent on who's hosting your website. So most small businesses don't actually host their own website. They pay somebody, or they go with like a free page on like a Yahoo or something like that. So it's a little tougher because you're depending on those folks to actually secure it. And there's always the chance it will get compromised. But again, it's in their best interest to try to prevent that, because if yours gets hacked, there's a pretty good chance that a whole bunch of them get hacked because they're running off of the same hardware. So they're all on the same computer. It's just multiple websites that they're hosting. But if somebody breaks into that one computer, it compromises everyone. So again, it's kind of up to them to really protect it. You definitely make sure you're using a secure password anywhere you go. Don't use the same password from site to site. And generally, what we consider a secure password is a minimum of about 8 characters, and you want uppercase, lowercase, and numbers in there, and avoid dictionary terms at all costs. So you don't want to use any word straight out of the dictionary. May make it harder for you to remember your password, but it's really your best line of defense is that password, because it's your first line of defense. So periodically change it. Change all of your passwords periodically. If you're at home and you have to write them down, that's one thing. If you're at work, try not to write them down. Makes us a little paranoid at that point. But again, it really is. If you do a good password, that's going to go quite a long ways to help protect you.
And if you do actually get a virus on your computer, what's the best way to get rid of it then? Or
you can call me since not everybody has access to me like you do, if you do get a virus, here's a couple of things about viruses. You want to make sure that you're backing your important data up. And sometimes I get asked, what should I back up? And it's whatever. If I took your computer and chucked it out a window right now, what would you miss? Generally, if you have iTunes, you want to back that up. Although Apple is now letting you re-download things. But any of your business files, information, that all should be backed up. And it should probably be backed up a couple of different ways, honestly. You can buy flash drives, external drives. The thing is when you do a backup, unplug those devices when you're done. Don't leave them plugged into the computer, because if your computer does get a virus, it will go right onto those portable drives. Microsoft, with Hotmail, they have something called SkyDrive, where you can actually store files online. I'm not sure how I feel about storing business files online, although companies are doing it. The thing is if you do get a virus, you may have to pay somebody to fix it, because we may have to actually go in and track it down, because some viruses will actually they'll hide from your antivirus software, and so we have to go tracking them down, and it can be a little pricey. So if it happens, I hate to see it when it does happen to people. But if you're afraid of the data on there, you really do want to find a good IT professional somewhere who can do that work for you, somebody that you can trust with it.
Yeah, another question. What do you think of the password keepers built into your internet browser?
I don't use them, if that helps you. They're convenient. They're awfully convenient. The problem is if I sit down at your computer, I can just open up your browser and I can be into your stuff. But there's actually a file on your computer that's all stored in, and if I can gain access to your computer, that file is easily read. And so I generally don't like it, and I avoid it. Although I will say there are a few sites I do let my browser remember the password, but generally I avoid it, just because it's too easily located and read by somebody outside of out on the internet, coming into your computer. So.
And is there any better browser for security wise?
It used to be Firefox, considered to be the secure browser. Firefox has gone through some changes, and honestly, I haven't. Firefox has kind of frustrated me a little bit, because it seems like it crashes more often. So I've pretty much been using Google Chrome. Otherwise, it honestly. I generally avoid Internet Explorer, but I know, millions and millions of people use it because it comes pre-installed on the computer. But it's generally been considered the weaker of any of the browsers. So there's Firefox, there's Google Chrome, there's Apple Safari, and then there's also one called Opera. To me, it just seems like any of them tend to work a little better than Explorer does.
And right after I ask that question, somebody says, I bet he says Chrome in a second.
You've got a nerd out there somewhere, man.
Yeah. And what kind of things should you look for in a computer when you're buying a computer?
Oh, that's the tough one, because I tell you what, they are going to sell you way more computer than what you will ever use. Most people, when they buy a computer for home, they browse the internet, and they occasionally check their email, and they may actually type something up every now and again. It does not take very much to do that. So what really to look for is, okay, I'm a little opinionated here. I would avoid Intel Celeron on any computer. It's a computer component. I won't get into it too much, but I don't like it. And generally, the more RAM, the better. So when you're looking at an ad, they'll show you this computer has 4 gigabyte of RAM. This one has 6 gigabyte of RAM. Generally, the higher the number, the better. But it can be tough because there are so many models on hardware out there right now. It's tough for me to figure out what computer I want. But the thing is do a little research before you go to buy. And again, look at what people are saying and reviews. And, you know, don't just go to a big box store and expect that person to really be able to tell you about that computer, because they're probably reading a tag. You know, but generally, you know, that's my main advice is more RAM is better, more memory is better, and stay away from the Intel Celeron.
And what about the warranties they always want you to buy?
It depends. How clumsy are you? On a desktop computer, I generally lean towards not buying the service plan because you have a 1-year manufacturer's warranty. And desktop computers don't get moved around very much. They tend to sit in the same spot. On a laptop, you know, how much money did you spend on the laptop? Did you spend $300 or $1,000? Because that can make a difference. Laptops tend to take a lot more abuse. They tend to get banged around more. And so, you know, they can be a little more prone to things breaking. And I'm sure on your Apple Mac, you're not going to be really happy if, you know, you lift up your laptop bag and it falls out and breaks. So in that case, the service plan might be a better option. I don't pay for a service plan because if I figure I can't fix it, I shouldn't own it. But honestly, I generally recommend on a laptop, do the service plan. On a desktop, unless you're buying something really high-end, that 1-year manufacturer warranty is probably going to be good enough. Most computer failures occur in something like the first 60 days of the computer running. So, you know, generally that your manufacturer warranty is going to be okay unless you're dropping things.
And then Phyllis asked, what do you look for in a nerd?
What do I look for in a nerd? Well, I don't know because do they like zombies? Do they like Star Trek or Star Wars? Do they play video? I mean, there are a whole lot of secret nerds out there. You know, I'm talking to one right now. Because some of you may not realize that Ryan actually knows an awful lot about computers. He just pretends he doesn't. All you have to do is look at the website he built, and you can see he must know something. So, you know, I mean, it's just generally nerds are people who they're curious about how things work, you know, and they just want to see how it works. So if you've ever pulled a VCR apart or taken an engine apart or, you know, tried to take something apart just to see how it works and look at it, congratulations, you're probably a nerd. But we all get nerdy about different things. A lot of you out there are, you know, you're passionate about your field. That's one thing, massage therapy people, you can pretty much guarantee they're passionate about their field. They generally love what they do, so they're nerds. So they're just massage nerds. Although that name is already taken, so don't try to use it.
Yep. And what are some big conventions out there for IT stuff?
It depends on what you want to do. There is a big gaming convention that's done once a year. There's actually a hackers convention that's pretty big. And
does everybody go incognito then? And
at the hackers convention, they usually get about 16 or 17,000 people, and you do not want to leave your cell phone on, your any device on. They even have a banner that tells you make sure all devices are off. But the big thing is the Consumer Electronics Show that rolls around in January out in Vegas. There's about 140,000 people. And you get the computer companies, you get the automobile manufacturers, anybody that has anything to do with technology. It's amazing how many companies are actually out there. But that's the big industry trade show.
And if anybody wants any more questions answered, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me? Well, it all depends on what you want to ask. I guess they could go through you, Yeah. Otherwise, I do have an email, Wright, WRIGHT 130 @gmail.com that I check quite frequently. And you feel free to hit me up and ask me a question. And I really do love helping people with technology and helping them just get more out of what they're using. And, it really can help any field get more.
Okay.
So.
Well, thank you very much, Rod. It's been a blast.
I'll see you tomorrow, buddy.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.